Welcome back on the Halftime Show on the PAC Sports Network. We're joined by Tim Loomis, the head coach of the Thiel Tomcats. And Coach, it's been an up and down season league-wide in the first half of the year. And the same can be said for the Thiel Tomcats to a certain respect. What's your assessment of the team here heading into the final month of the season?
Well, we're in a situation where we need to win games. We've lost a lot of close games. If we make our free throws, usually it's not a close game. If we don't make our free throws, then it's down to the wire. And we need to win the close games. We need to shoot free throws better. But the league is wide open for everyone. I think the second half of the season, especially now, the schedule's in certain teams' favors. We play 5 at home and 4 on the road, and a couple of those games on the road are tough games. A couple of games are very winnable games. So the team that can step up and win a few in the road will probably win the conference. And I think the teams ahead of us, I mean, you don't like to look, but everybody looks, every coach looks. Their schedule is probably not as favorable as ours. So we need to do our job, not worry about what everybody else is doing, and step up and play with much more maturity because we don't have any seniors. But our juniors and seniors now, and our freshmen and sophomores. So it's, instead of talking, let's step up and play.
A great win for your team on the road at Geneva, double OT win. Tyreek Burton hitting a buzzer beater at the end of the first overtime to force the second OT. Tell us about that win and really how exciting of a moment first the buzzer beater was, and then to pull the game out in the second overtime.
Well, as you know, I've been coaching a long time, and I think that's the first time ever I've had a team have 2 buzzer beaters to get it into overtime and 2 overtimes. I've never had it before. So it was exciting for the kids, never exciting for the coaches. And again, that's one of those games where we didn't shoot free throws, and it's a close game, one that we won instead of losing. So it was a nice atmosphere for the kids, but of course, if you're on the other end of it, it's tough for Jeff, a real tough game. And coming back up here, they're not going to forget that. It's going to be a game when we play today that they're coming here to win a game, kind of retribution for losing the game at home in double overtime. But it was a great game. We were fortunate to get it in 2 overtimes, and we won.
Looking at a player that graduated from last year, Kari Best, terrific player, outstanding defensive player and offensive player for that matter, left a void in the lineup. However, Tyreek Burton has really stepped up this year and has filled that gap tremendously. Talk about his breakout season and what's led to it. Yeah,
well, he's been injured a lot for 2 years, and other things happened to the poor kid, and he's always been like a step behind everybody. This year he's caught up. I mean, Kari is gone. He had to fill that void, and he knew it coming in. He's done a great job. I don't know what his statistics are because I don't look at individual statistics, but our sports information department told me today that he was leading the league in scoring, which I didn't know. But he's filled the void in a lot of ways. I mean, scoring, he's done a great job scoring. He distributes the ball. He takes care of it better than the guards that we've had in the past. And he's done a great job. I mean, he's been the leader on the team on the floor. I think he and a couple others need to step up off the floor and be leaders, more demanding. But as far as a role, he's filled the gap exceptionally. And we haven't missed a beat there except for maybe Kari was a great defender and led the country in steals 3 years. He's not quite as good a defender. But again, Kari's a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, and Kari really focused on defense, where Tyreek's a little more offensive oriented, which is good for us because we need the offense this year. But has done a great job so far. So still got ways to go.
Has been very good statistically, as you noted. He does lead the PAC in scoring. But statistics aside, last year when we sat down with an interview with you, you mentioned when he was a sophomore that you felt that he was the best guard in the PAC, or one of the best guards at minimum. Do you feel like he's lived up to those expectations? Yeah,
he has this year. I think he is the best guard in the league, night in, night out. But again, being the best guard doesn't mean you're a championship team yet. You have to prove you're the best championship team, the best guard on a championship team. And that's where maybe you get recognition as an individual player. The only way you do it is to win championships. So hopefully, he steps up with the rest of the kids and they can, get up there and fight for the championship with the remaining, 7 or 8 games we have left plus the playoff. We'll see.
Tyreek individually leads the league in scoring. Thiel collectively also amongst the best in scoring offense. And I know you don't look at stats,
No,
but your team's very good statistically.
Okay.
So I was on the
I
board.
look the rebounding and the
well, that's where
defense.
where I'm going to go. Defense or rebounding is
Yes.
always, your teams are predicated on those two things. Talk about the philosophy there and how the team has lived up to those expectations, or do you feel that they have?
We're a better defensive team than we were last year. We're long, we're athletic. I think that as years go on, we played better and better, I think, offensively. But at times we don't move the ball well, we struggle. And then we have to generate a lot of offense off our defense because we're not great shooters. Everybody knows that. And one time my wife said, "You recruit so much day in, day out, that's all you ever do. How about recruiting more shooters?" She doesn't know anything about basketball. So maybe we need to recruit a couple better shooters for next year. But this bunch, we score in segments of the game. And then we'll, like last night, the last couple games, there's been times for 5 minutes we don't score. And that's because we don't defend and get easy buckets. So our defense predicates our offense. And, of course, rebounding does that too. I think that really the only stats I look at, assist-turnover ratio, rebounding in the league, and individual rebounding. And I always say if you don't have the individual rebounder in the league, you don't win a championship. And right now we don't. We're second, maybe fourth or third or whatever. We have like 4 or 5 guys in the top 10 in rebounding. But we don't have the leading rebounder in the league. And it generates our offense. So we have to get better at that.
Glendale C2 leads the PAC in blocks, and he and Averill Campbell certainly terrific presence in the paint for your team. Talk about them and what they give your team on the inside.
Well, they do. I think we lack a little bit offensively in the paint. They do it. They've done a better job each year of scoring. Glendale thinks he's too much of a jump shooter at times. He needs to get down in the paint and score in a block. Again, most coaches aren't going to say that in an interview. Well, guess what? He needs to do better for us in the paint, scoring. Now, again, he blocks shots. He's one of the better ones, and obviously leads the conference. He's a great shot blocker. He needs to focus more on his ability on the block, what I call a 5-foot player. And Averill does that. He's not quite as gifted offensively, but he does a great job for us, and he plays very hard all the time. But we have Josh Lumbus, and we have a couple other young guys, Leandre Jackson and Zoe, that are really good rebounding forwards. So combined together, I think we're probably the best rebounding team in the league, but it has to generate more offense down the stretch for us.
Alonzo Brown and Josh Lumbus, you mentioned their names. What do they give to the team?
Well, they've come a long way in a year. I mean, we're still, I hate to say we're young, but we are with no seniors. And they have a lot of experience, but Josh was injured last year, didn't play, so he missed a year. Zoe didn't play much a freshman. He grew 3 inches and worked on his game. So those guys are just coming around. And Jackson, the same way. He didn't get much experience in high school, and he's a sophomore. And at 6'6", he didn't play the first semester. So we're still kind of getting together. And hopefully, and again, we have the last 4 or 5 games look strong at times. We look really good. Other times, so offensively.
Nyreek Gosley, a freshman who's logged a lot of minutes.
Yes.
How much of a splash has he made early on in his career?
Been a great freshman. He and Terrence Holloway have played above our expectations. I think they're as good as any freshman in the league. I know that Geneva has a really good freshman, a great kid. We recruit also, and he's done a wonderful job. He might be the best all-around freshman in the league, I think. But Tyreek and Terrence are as good as we've had in the league, as good as freshmen we've had in a while. And they've played above our expectations. So they're doing a great job.
And Mert Ozkainak, a guy we've talked about in the past, and you bring him in off the bench. What's it like to bring in a guard of his caliber off your bench?
Well, that's been a big difference in our team. And I'm glad you pronounced his last name because I sure can't. But he's done a great job for us off the bench. I think he's second or third in the league in assists. And when he plays well, we're real good. And again, he's a real catalyst to our team as a leader. He and Tyreek, I think, are the 2 guys that everybody looks at. And Mert's the kind of guy that you look at and say, he's not real fast, he's not real strong, not a great leaper, but he does a great job for us. And it's a funny story about him. I nearly cut him as a freshman, and actually my assistant John Ryan will talk me into keeping him. So what do I know about it? Most of the time, but he's come a long way, and he's one of our. I think he's a top-notch. He's a starter, but we'd like to bring him off the bench he starts games. Again, starters are dictated by our matchups, and he's the difference in our whole team. I mean, Tyreek, yeah, he's a great player, but Mert's really a difference in our team.
A lot of energy off the bench,
Yes.
and I can see why you use him in that role. A great defensive team, as we talked about, defense and rebounding.
Yes.
This team is predicated on. As far as in the final month of the season now, and to make a run in the PAC tournament and to win the championship, what does this team need to do?
Consistent offense. Take care of the ball better. I know we're pretty good at that, much better in the last 2 years, but we have to be a better offensive team. If we can get up there to where we have good games and we're consistent offensively, we can make a run at it. But we'll wait and see. That's not up to a coach a lot of times. You know, we run the offense well. We don't have selfish kids. They move the ball most of the time. And every coach will tell you, I think it's predicated that you got to step up and make plays, and you got to make shots, and you have to be consistent. The team that stays consistent down the stretch at any level, Division I, II, or III, of which I've coached them all, it's a team that is consistent offensively and has a great defense. And we have a very good defense. It's not great, it's good. And we rebound the ball. But if we can consistently become better offensively, then we can make a run at anybody. We'll see.
That's Tim Loomis, the head coach of the Thiel Tomcats. Always a pleasure, Coach. Thanks for
Appreciate
your time, and
Thank
good luck
you.
the rest of the way.
Thanks.
We'll have more coming up in a moment on the PAC Sports Network.